Good morning, Go Nation, and happy January. I know it's been a long time since I've made a video, and part of that is because my normal way that I vlog and how I talk to you guys is in my car on my way to work. Well, when I had my Jeep Gladiator, that thing rode so shitty and it was so loud, the audio was messed up. I literally probably made, gosh, 6 videos, 7 videos, and every video that I made, the audio was just so bad. You know, the tires, and it was tough. It was tough. Anyways, that is gone. I no longer have the Gladiator. Now, I know what you're thinking. Eddie, you go through cars a lot, and you would not be wrong. You would not be wrong. I do. In fact, the last 3 cars I've had a new car every 6 months, which is, man, it's crazy. It's crazy to think. And, you know, I am thankful that I'm able to do that and, you know, get something that might be more effective for me. So, it's a good thing. So, Eddie, what'd you do with the Gladiator? Well, the last thing I did to the Gladiator was I lifted it 2 inches and I put it on 35s, some Falcon Wild Peaks. They were great tires. My wife bought me wheels for it, and man, it made that thing look sexy. That car should have, or that truck should have came from Jeep with 35s and 0 offset wheels. And it wasn't until I started driving it that I really realized why it didn't. 35s are heavy, incredibly heavy, and the gearing was not set up for 35s. It wasn't. I had the sport model, so I had 373s, I think, in it, or 383s, and it just wasn't the correct gearing. And I mean, I can make a whole nother video regarding gearing in cars and explain to you how that works, because it's actually pretty neat. But to be brutally honest with you, I bought it, if you remember, I bought it because my Civic wasn't big enough, right? And I bought the Jeep and I was like, you know, I'm going to throw my kids' softball stuff in the back, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, that's a great idea until it rains, right? Yeah. And that vehicle was actually more cramped than the Civic when you would try to store stuff in it. I mean, my kids, I put them in the back seat, and, you know, I put something between them, and it would get it. You're touching me. No. Now, for you, those of you that don't have kids, I know what you're thinking. You're like, in fact, I even read the comments. People are like, I'd let my kids go before I let my Civic Si go. And it's hilarious when you say that, because it's like, no, you wouldn't. If you're that in love with your SI, like, you should have got a Type R, you know. But seriously, like, things change as you get older and you get more responsibilities, and you know, what you need and what you want become 2 different things. And what I'm realizing is that, and it was something I battled with when I bought the SI, was I wanted something with a little bit of luxury behind it, something that was comfortable, something that rode nice, that I could take for a long place and it wouldn't beat the crap out of me. And the Civic really did that. You know, the Civic was probably one of the cars that checked all the boxes, you know, that I really wanted. It just wasn't big enough. And the option, the Accord, the 2.0 Accord, was sloppy and ugly. It just didn't drive well at all. So, as many of you know, one of the cars that I was looking at when I was buying the Civic was actually a Golf R. And I like the Golf R because I like the interior Volkswagen. It feels good, it's refined yet simple, and it's German. I haven't ever really had, I mean, I'm trying to think, I haven't really ever had a German car. I mean, I had a Bug, but that wasn't like a newer German car. I did have a Mercedes. I had a C230. It was a 2007, and that car was nice too. You know, when you close the door, nice heavy weight. It was just a nice car. Everybody thought it was my parents' car, because at the time I was like 23. What they didn't know is that car was super cheap. I bought it used. It was like 18 grand, and it was funny because everybody thought it was worth way more because it had a Mercedes badge on it. So what did I buy now? Well, I went out and I bought a 2019 Volkswagen Atlas. Yes, the biggest SUV that Volkswagen offers, I bought. And I bought it because I have another baby on the way. Woo! Congratulations. Fingers crossed we'll get a boy this time. But now don't get it twisted. I will tell you that I'm a minivan guy. I would rock a minivan, and I know the stigma. Like, don't talk shit about a minivan, please. I can already see in the comments. Don't talk shit about a minivan until you use one, because if you used one, you'd be like, oh shit, the minivan is sick. Like, it just does everything well that you need it to do. It hauls well, it gets good gas mileage, it's easy to get in and out of. The third row's got good seating. It's just a minivan, so you get a lot of stigma when you drive a minivan. So I wasn't trying to buy a minivan, and I was looking at 3-row crossovers, 3-row SUVs, and I didn't want something with bad gas mileage. One of the reasons why the Jeep was so bad is that after I put 35s on it, I was getting 12 miles to the gallon, and I used that thing to commute, and I was putting $70 a week in fuel in that thing. So I already had a big payment because I financed $45,000 on that Jeep. So, that's a big payment. And then I'm dumping, $70 a week in fuel in it. So I'm spending $280 a month just on fuel on top of my payment. So, and that's just driving to and from work. Like I said, guys, I do more casual to and from work. And that's where the Civic really did well. I mean, I was averaging about 25 miles a gallon in the Civic. So when I was looking at SUVs, I wanted something that was A, affordable, B, more luxury, refined, and C, something that got good gas mileage. And one of the things that I was going to give up was sportiness. When I got the Jeep, I lost all sportiness in my vehicle. You couldn't drive it fast. I would go from the SI to that, and it's like, especially once I put the tires on, man. I mean, you're doing 65, 70 miles an hour, and it's like, you're holding on. There's lane drift with it. Now, off-road, it was phenomenal. The best thing I've ever driven in my life off-road. But the times that I do go off-road, and I got it muddy. I put it through 4 feet of water. I organized huge Jeep events out here in Northern California. It was a big deal. But every day I had to drive it to and from work, and that was a big deal. So when I was looking for 3-row SUVs, I looked at the Suburban, and I said, look, if I'm going to get a big SUV, I'm going to go get the biggest SUV. Did you know that a new Suburban is like $55,000? Like, that's where they start. Well, they may start at like 45, but for like a halfway decent option was like 45 grand. That's insane for a Chevy. Like, for something that hasn't changed in forever. So I started looking at the Tahoes, and Tahoes were also just way expensive. So I started looking at like the mid-size SUVs, right? And I looked at the GMC Arcadia, I looked at the Chevy Traverse, I looked at the Kia Telluride, which is cool, but I just can't buy a Kia. I can't do it. I mean, not yet, at least. Kia is getting there, but they have so the reason Kias look cool, like the Stinger and stuff like that, if you guys don't know, and Hyundais are looking cool, is because they hired the chief designer from Audi. So the chief designer from Audi went over, and he now works for Kia, and that's why Kias look good now, is because they hired the chief designer, not some 12-year-old Korean kid with a pen going, this look good. They hired this guy, and that's why the cars are looking more and more German. And of course, the build quality is better. But here's the problem with that: the cost of the Telluride is getting as expensive as its competitors. So, what value are you really getting in a Kia? I mean, Kia, it's the subpar brand. It's a cheaper brand, but you don't want to get too close to the cost of your competitors, because if you do that, people are just going to buy the competitors no matter how good your Kia is, because at the end of the day, you don't have brand recognition. It's still just a Kia. So I wasn't there yet, and the Hyundai Palisade, which is the cheaper version. Look at this fucking dude in this motorcycle. Dude, you're going to die, you fat fuck. Okay, sorry. This guy just rolled out. He's like fucking, oh my god. Oh, he's a new rider. That's why. That makes way more sense. I'm sorry. People, oh my god. If you're uncoordinated, public service announcement, if you're uncoordinated and fat as fuck, you should not ride a motorcycle wearing Jordans. You're wearing Sorry. I'm sorry. So, where was I? Yeah, it's just, yeah. So I went and I looked at the Chevys, you know, and I even looked at the Buick Enclave. Yeah, I looked at the Enclave, and because I was going to get a good deal on it, and I had a horrible experience at the dealer. And I've looked at the Atlas before. It's just Volkswagens, you know, they're just expensive. You know, the Golf R was more expensive than anything else. The GTI is more expensive than every other hot hatch in the category, you know. So I went in just to look at the Atlas because the goal was I wanted to be able to sit in the third row. I'm 6'2", 245 pounds. That, yes, I've lost 40 pounds on the keto diet. I'll do another video on that. But anyways, I wanted to be able to sit in the back. I walk into the dealership, and Volkswagen does this cool thing where they have one of every model that they sell inside on the dealership floor, which is really cool. And it's the base model. And the reason they do this is because if you like the base model, when you go out to the lot and you look at a non-base model, you're going to be like, wow, I hecka like that, and I like the options, which is a really cool thing. So I went in there and I met a sales guy who was really great. I mean, he was like a Volkswagen fanboy, you know, as you guys would call. He knew about chassis codes, he knew all about the car, and it was cool because I'm a car guy too, and that's the stuff that I want to know when I buy a car. You know, that was one of my rubs with Jeep, is that when I bought my Gladiator, the guy who sold it to me didn't know shit about Jeeps, and like he couldn't tell me anything. And I really had to YouTube everything to really kind of figure it out because the sales guy was so stupid. Well, that's the exact opposite that I had the experience with Volkswagen, so kudos to Volkswagen there. And I started looking at the Atlas, and the first one I drove was a 4Motion, so it was an all-wheel drive VR6, which is the V6, makes about 280 horsepower. It's very, very comparable to like the Pentastar or something like that that would be inside the Jeep or any other Dodge product with a V6. And you know, it just felt like an SUV. Nothing exciting. Nothing. I mean, it was all-wheel drive, but that doesn't mean anything because Volkswagen's all-wheel drive system is front-wheel biased anyways. So it didn't really feel sporty. And remember, when I got rid of my Civic, I said, hey, look, you know, I'm giving up sporty for the Jeep, and SUV sport utility vehicle, I wanted something a little bit more. And, you know, it was rigid. I liked the suspension. It was pretty flat, but it just really wasn't there for me. And I thought, well, that's kind of what I'm going to get. You know, that's what I'm going to get with all SUVs, is this kind of floaty, not really good thing. And then I started doing some research, and I saw that they offer the Atlas with a 2-liter turbo, like the same one that comes in the GTI. It makes like 235 horsepower, 250 foot-pounds of torque at 1,500 RPMs. And on paper, that's 30 horsepower less than the V6, but when you're talking about torque curve, a V6 makes its power way up top just for a blip, whereas the torque curve on the turbocharged car goes from basically nothing, turbo lag, up to maximum torque, and then it's flat all the way across. And I really had to hunt to find a 2-liter. I really did, you know. They don't put the 2-liter in the 4Motion, so I had to get a front-wheel drive, which is fine because remember, gas mileage. And I finally found one. It was a 19, which is important because it comes with a 7-year, 72,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, which is huge. That's part of the Dieselgate scandal that kind of went on. But I drove it, and it was sporty. It felt like a little well, it felt like a really overweight GTI is really what it is. Because at the end of the day, the Atlas rides on the MQB platform, which is the same platform that like a Passat rides on and everything like that. So, you know, it gives you a lot of options as far as, you know, vehicle and all that fun stuff. So, for what it's worth. So, end of the day, what did I buy? I bought a 19 Atlas. It is a front-wheel drive, 7-seater SUV, and I like it, you know. It's black, which was not my first color choice, but that's all I could find in the 2-liter, unfortunately. I really, really, really wanted like the yellow one or something like that, but the black one looks sick. I mean, black cars look hella sexy as long as they're clean, and then they look like shit. But I'm a kind of a detail guy, you know, so I've been reading a lot about sealants and stuff like that, so I'll do some videos on that too. But anyways, yeah, that's what I got. So like I said, like, subscribe if you like my content and stuff like that. Don't like and subscribe my content only if you like one type of vehicle, because I do all sorts of videos. I'm a car guy, that's what I do. So I'll talk to you guys next video where I'm going to explain gearing and stuff like that. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.